Hey there, adventurers. I'm Norwolf. Welcome to my role-playing game realm and to session 23 of my Powers and Perils solo play. When last we left our four intrepid adventurers, they had just finished traveling from the tower where Gildor's mentor resides, Lendrin Goldleaf, and they traveled northwards, retracing some of their steps through Greenwick and up through Cloverlass, and then veered off the main roads and headed overland towards Crystal Shores, where they had been asked to go investigate some issues that the town is having with some lizardfolk or lizard men. For the bit of travel that was between Cloverlass and Crystal Shores, I had broken out the filling in the blanks book again, and I'd created some sites or features that they had encountered along the way. Everything from a hippogriff layer to various caves, and let's see, there was also ley lines, hex with ley lines in it, and a field from an old settlement of Bergam. And then by the July 15th, so that travel had taken them essentially 4 days. And then kind of middle to late afternoon, roughly, they had made it into Crystal Shores. So once there, they proceeded towards the town hall, somewhere in the center of the village itself. This map is obviously, it's labeled as the town of Haven, and this map is from, I think I had it in the last video. I'll put a link to where this came from. It just escapes me at the moment. And I'm going to assume that Town Hall is somewhere in the center here. I've actually haven't gone through and decided what these different numbers are. Here it says the number 8 is the strip. I'm going to basically assume that, basically going to assume that, Haven Center, there we go, is number 4. So that's going to be the town center as well for my Crystal Shores town. Anyways, the group makes their way there. They will leave their horses with the 2 cavalrymen that are with them as they head into the center and find council or whoever it is that they need to speak with. They'll spend some time there, obviously waiting to get an audience with them or with whoever's actually representing the town council. Once they do get in, I'm not going to roleplay that actual aspect of the back and forth between our 4 adventurers and the various people that they're dealing with there. Needless to say, the town would be happy that they've arrived. There's been ongoing challenges with some of the lizard folk that have made their way to the temple that's just north of the town. They get a little bit more insight. They're offered a guide to take them to the kind of the rough area of where the temple is, so that they're not having to hunt through the forest to try and find it. They are told that it's often that the lizardmen or the lizard folk come down to this temple probably once a year. They're not necessarily the most pleasant lizard folk. They are followers of Katothi, and in particular the god Nebeth. And something's a little different this time around. In the past, they've basically left the town alone, and the foresters and various folk that make it out into the in the area to do hunting and things like that. But the people that have come back have said that there seems to be some fighting going on between some of the Lizardfolk. They've seen some skirmishes between clan members, and something just seems a bit off. And some of those Lizardfolk have actually been attacking some of the foresters and hunters and things that have been out in that rough area. They seem to be a little bit more aggressive, or far more aggressive, I guess, this year than they have in past years. So it's important that our characters go and investigate and kind of find out what's going on, and maybe, if possible, push the Lizardfolk back and deter them from maybe coming back to this area in the future. Right, that is the bit of background there. Just to catch up on our characters. So from the last go round, I've added in the various expertise points that they've got from their travels. So the horsemanship, 4 horsemanship for each of them, 2 for survival for each of them, 3 plane survival, and 4 carrying. The combat experience from the battle with the hippogriffs. Gilder received 34 combat experience points, which gives him 1 characteristic. He received 27 magic experience points from the spells that he cast. Raffin, and of course, the lizardmen, or sorry, not the lizardmen, the hippogriffs were combat difficulty factor, or CDF 2. So he got 4 expertise in longbow and scimitar. Raffin received 4 expertise in shield, heater shield, longbow, and broadsword, or bastard sword, I mean. He received 120 combat experience points, which gave him 3 characteristics. Mirazan received 4 expertise in her broadsword and longbow. Raffin was the only one that had his shield hit in that battle. Everybody else that was in melee would have gotten 1 expertise in their shield as well, which I actually just realized I forgot to put in here. And Marazan received 116 combat experience points, 3 characteristics. And Kina, similar to Gildor, 34 combat experience points, 1 characteristic. 6 magic experience points, which gave her 1 characteristic as well. And she did 1 healing spell on Gildor as well. So she would have actually got more magic experience points from that. Gilder received, actually forgot to mention, Gilder received 12 expertise in Smokeless Flame, 6 expertise in his Sonic Trumpet, and Kina received 6 expertise in her Ball Fire spell, and would have been 2 expertise in her healing and 2 magic experience points from that healing spell as well. And of course, 4 expertise in her composite bow and sword. So, I think that basically catches us up. So Gilder, with his 1 characteristic, he would have actually 1 characteristic from the combat and 1 characteristic from the spellcasting. If I remember correctly, he threw 1 into agility from the combat and 1 into will from the spellcasting. Oh, and I guess the big thing there is with the combat experience points or magic experience points that he received, he is actually now MEL 6. He's gotten slightly better at casting spells, slightly better success. But really what that means is on the magic table, he's now casting on line 6, which is basically 2% better than his line 5 that he was on. Raffin put his 3 points into strength, stamina, and dexterity. Marizan put hers into stamina, dexterity, and agilities. So I guess if I was to actually read these numbers to you, Raffin's strength is now 44 stamina, and 34 dexterity. Marizan now has a 44 stamina, 35 dex, and 33 agility. And Kina, with her 1 point from combat and 1 point from magic, she put 1 point into agility, so it's 32 now, and I think she put the other point into intelligence, which made that a 42. let's carry on with our adventure. So the town councillor that they're speaking with will direct them to one of the nearby inns, and the town will take care of the accommodations and food and everything for our travelers for this evening and the next day. He'll inform them that a guide will be by in the morning to meet with them and take them out into the forest north. If I go into scroll into the map here a bit, basically they'll be going into kind of the northern, northeast section of Crystal Lake here, where the temple is located. It's probably several hours walk through the kind of more plains than treed area here. And the characters will most likely leave their horses behind. They'll put on their best armor, grab the weapons they feel they need, and head out in the morning once the guide shows up and they are ready to travel. So let's clear some of this stuff away. Going to do the next morning's weather. All right. Percentiles, and if we go to our handy table here, the previous day that they traveled was the drizzle with some wind. Puts us here, and we have an 11. That's going to move them up and around to this location. So they are on a cloudy, calm day. No wind, no breeze. Cool. Cloudy, no wind on the 16th. So, let's get rid of our dice tray. Now, if we go through our previous day, or daily steps here, I've already done skill gains and everything for them. Food used, that was taken care of. Partly with their rations as they traveled, and then the remainder that evening with the inn itself. Did our current weather, mana regen. Now I look at my handy summary page, wherever that is. We have Gilder restoring 6 on 6 of his mana and 5 on his mana storage device, and Kina restoring 4 of her mana and 3 in her mana storage device. So that means 6 of the 14 is back here. He's down 8. And 5 of the 7 is back. So he's down 2 still there. Kina is down 2 from her mana, and on the mana storage device, it is back to full. So gets that 2 back with the 3 regen that she's got. And let's see, natural healing. There's no healing left to do. Any spell casting today? I think one of the things that I will be doing that I kind of been ignoring, or maybe not really considering at this point, probably more often because Gilder has been low on mana a lot of times, is when they're sticking around doing some downtime, or he's got, or Kina for that matter, has an abundance of mana, they'll be doing some spell casting just to start improving some of their casting skills. I've been kind of torn in the past whether they need an actual opponent or actual reason to be casting their spells, to be gaining experience from it. But I also find that if they're not doing that, they're perhaps not increasing their skills in their spell casting as quickly as they could be, because not every combat they would necessarily be casting spells. I will probably in the next bit of downtime, they'll probably burn up some of their mana, and it's still leaving, a reasonable amount should an event or some sort of a encounter or something come up to where they do need their mana for the spells. So, anyways, that'll be coming in kind of some of the future episodes or future downtime. And then, of course, the plan for the day is heading out towards the temple and looking for these Lizardfolk or lizard men, and finding out what's going on and potentially dealing with the problem. And again, as I mentioned, typically the lizard men are Katothi followers, so they're completely at odds with our elder aligned kingdom, and so they'll typically the Katothi and or elder will try and kill each other on sight. There's usually not a lot of talking. So, anyways, let's get on with travel here. So I'll get rid of the card. And heading off towards the north. So our group of 4 head out that morning with their guide, a young fella who seems to know the area quite well. He's not very talkative. He seems a little bit nervous about the whole adventure ahead. And as they make their way through the cloudy morning along the shoreline of Crystal Lake, he basically says that he'll get them close to the area of the temple, but then he'll kind of point out generally where it is, and he will be heading back as he doesn't want to get caught up in any sort of fight or anything with any of the lizards. So they proceed along, and roughly 2, maybe 3 hours into the morning, they've been following the shoreline, going through a little bit of grassland, some scrub, some thickets of trees as they make their way along. And they get to a point where there's a few small rock formations and things sticking up out of the ground. And he says, probably a mile up ahead, if you continue following roughly this direction or this path, you should come across the notable rock formation that's quite distinguishable from the rest. And there'll be some stairs carved into it that take you up into the temple area. And with that, he bids them well, and he turns around and quickly scurries back in the direction that they came from. So our group of 4 continues to move ahead. As I mentioned, they've equipped their armor that they want to be fighting in. They brought a selection of weapons to ensure that they've got a number of choices should they happen to break something or want to choose to fight with something different. They've left the 2 horsemen, the cavalry, Kenton cavalry folks behind with the horses back at Crystal Shores. And now it's just the 4 of them proceeding along. We've got Marizan and Raffin kind of leading the way, with Gildor and Kina following closely behind. In roughly 15-20 minutes after their guide has departed, they get into a little bit of a wooded area, and something happens. They notice that on the ground, either side of the path, are some old shields that may look like they may have been used by the lizard men in the past. They're somewhat decrepit, but still look marginally functional. And they notice a few bones along with the shields. As they approach to investigate, they're suddenly surprised as the bones essentially stand up and become that of 2 undead lizard men. Let me get my map out here, and we will be back in just a moment. Get our adventures onto the map. Go to Gildor, go to Kina, Got a Marizan and a Raffin. I guess they'd be a little bit farther in. And where are our lizards? They've basically stood up right next to our peeps here. These lizards, well, these lizard men are obviously dead. It looks like they've been dead for quite some time. They've got a little bit of skin hanging from their bones. They're equipped with a, I'm going to butcher this again, I believe it's pronounced Maquavit, something like that. Basically, it's a wooden club with several embedded obsidian blades. The name is derived from the Nawit language and means hand wood. Sides are embedded with prismatic blades, traditionally made from obsidian. In game terms, it is another type of weapon that falls under the mace course. Basically has a weight of 4, weapon strength bonus +1, fatigue value of 10, and has the same special features as a club does. And just a note, this adventure is, even though it's called the Temple of Nebeth, it's actually based off of the original adventure, the Temple of Dins by Vance Aitkins. And I'll put a link to my conversion of this from the OSR version to a Powers and Perils version. So these guys, let me quickly write out their stats and I will be right back. I'm going to give these guys a base chance of surprising our travelers here. As this is a bit of a wooded area, I'm going to call it forest. And the base chance is 30%. Let's bring our dice tray back. Make sure it's centered here. And 30%. That is going to be a 94. So they are not surprised. All right, so we get into our combat. And of course, following our phase sequence, mana allocation, missile fire, magic effect, and then movement and melee. I don't believe these guys are going to do some mana. Well, maybe. Let me take a quick look at their spells and see if there's something that turns my crank here. I think they're of the mind that there's 2 of them. Let's just get in there with our weapons and see about taking them out. So we get into no missile fire and into the movement melee phase. From an attack priority perspective, these guys are using essentially a club or a mace. The attack order is 8. They will be going after everybody except Kina. She is using a sword, attack priority of 9, so she's after them. She doesn't have a magic weapon at this point. And we start with, I think Marizan had the fastest of the magic weapons with an attack priority of 4. Actually, she is going to use her mace. Attack priority 6. So she is going for them. Gildor is using his... Gildor is going to use his axe. So he can get... No, actually, he's going to continue using his scimitar. Needs to work on his EL for that. Attack priority of 5. So he's actually going before Marizan. And dude here is going to be using his axe, and that's attack priority 4, so he's going first. And from a movement perspective, let's zoom in a bit. Gildor is going to move around to the side there, at least get a flank, potentially. I'm going to assume he can't get into too much farther into the trees here. Keen, on the other hand, will move around and get behind the zombie. Or sorry, not the zombie. So these aren't super zombies, they are actually undead lizard folk. Okay, Raffen. He is OCV 11 versus their DCV of 7, so he's on the +4 line. He is subtracting 6% for the magic axe, 2 for his EL, so 8. And with 2 people attacking, that's another -5, so -13. And that's a 90 something on the +4 line is going to be in total miss. He's a 58. Right. Gildor. Gildor has a flank. Flank gives him -10. And the 2 of them attacking, another -5. And he is subtracting 6 from the 15, so -21, and EL2, so -23. Wow, 55 on the OCV7 versus their DCV7 on the 0 line. That's going to be a miss. Not a great start for these guys. And last but not least, well, not last yet, but just before the undead go, Merzan, who's using the mace. It's going to be an EL0. Did that not go up? Mace. I guess she had. I could have sworn she'd used it. Well, anyways. EL0, so subtracting 5 and 5 for the 2 attackers, so she's just subtracting 10 from her roll. She is going to be on the +4 line. Wow. Okay, well that is it for our guys. And then of course this is phase 1. Before Kina anyways. These guys. So the first one attacking... First one here attacking Raffen. It has an OCV 10. Raffen has a DCV of 10, so it's on the 0 line. It is subtracting... it has an EL2 in its weapon, so it's subtracting 2. And Raffen is adding 3 for the shield, +2, so adding 5. So adding 3 total. 18 on the 0 line is going to be a hit. So D6 +1 +1 for the strength bonus, +1 for the weapon, so +2. 3 points, and I have a feeling that 3 is going to bounce off of his plate armor, so that's that one. The next one is attacking Merzan, and it's going to be on the -1 line. It has a +5 to its roll, 5 from the EL of her shield, and 2 from the defense factor of the shield, +2 for the EL of the weapon, so +5. That'll be an 8 on the -1 line. 8 is going to be a severe hit. Thing with the club or mace type weapons is on a severe, the weapon strength bonus goes up by 1, so it's a +2. So it's got a D10 +3 damage. So 10 points of damage total. And in a severe or deadly hit, the helm comes into play. So she is subtracting 3 for the chain armor and 2 for the metal helm. So she takes 5 damage. Her armor takes 2 points of damage, and she takes 5. And last but not least, we have Ina bringing up the rear of the attack and attacking from the rear. He is using 2 weapons. So she has 2 weapon fighting at EL2, and her swords are at EL2. So she gets to attack twice. And I remember how 2 weapon fighting works again. I use it so rarely. Let me double check that. Let me switch over to the PDF for a moment here. Okay, 2 weapon fighting. The 2 weapon user must be trained in both weapons if they are different. He's using 2 swords. After completing the course, he will raise his 2 weapon EL separately from his skill in the weapons. He has, as I mentioned, EL2 in 2 weapon fighting and in sword. The 2 weapon user must have 2 functional weapons with size limits. Okay, he may use his EL offensively to attack twice in the same phase. When he does, the EL is divided as he desires between the 2 attacks. So she will do subtract 2 from her first attack and 0 from her second attack. When the 2 weapon users use this option. And yeah, so that's that. Let's flip back to our combat here. So she is OCV 9. These guys are DCV 7, so she's on the +2 line. He has got all sorts of bonuses here. So she's multiple attackers, -5, and attacking from the rear. So another -15 there, so -20. So -22 for her first swing and -20 for her second swing. And of course, because it's defenders is ambush taken from the rear or unaware of the attacker, a hit becomes a severe becomes a deadly means it's killed outright. So on the +2 line, with a -22 on the first roll, 65 is going to be a miss, and -20 on the second roll. 27 is going to be a hit, which becomes a severe, which is not too bad. He's happy with that. And that severe is D10 +3. 9 points. These things have a natural armor value of 2, so she does 7 damage. 7 damage to number 1. And that ends our first phase. Oh, one other thing I missed here. If I flip back to the PDF, when attacking with the 2 weapons, the first weapon that's attacking is actually 1 position higher in the attack priority table. So she actually has an attack priority of 8, which is the same as the Undead. So in theory, she should have gone before the Undead with her first attack. Remember that for the next round. We're on phase 2. Okay, these things are probably going to just keep attacking the people that they attacked in the first phase. I don't particularly see any reason why they would change. And we start with Raffin again. So Raffin, you are on the +4 line. You have a -8, -13 to your roll. Wow, they're just swinging wildly, these things. Okay, Gildor, you are on the 0 line with a -10, 15, 17, 23, -23 to your roll. Going to be a 25 on the, what did I say? On the 0 line. 25 on the 0 is going to be exactly a hit. And he does d6 plus 4 on a normal hit. So 8 points. Less 2 for their natural armor value, so 6 points. And he's attacking number 2. Gildor with his scimitar. These things fight to -3, and they do not drop at 0, so they'll be fighting to the death. All right, Marizan. You are on the +4 line with -10, 70. That's going to be a miss. Again, she needs a 58. Our 2 big hitters are not doing much this time around. Okay, Kina with her -22 on her first weapon strike. Going to be a 31. 31 is going to be on +2 line. 31 is going to be a shield hit. These things have a shield skill of, oh, that's right. I could have been adding their shield skill to their defense here. Well, that's I'll have to remember that for the next time. I guess I'll fuck it up to an oops. But so effectively an armor value of 9 with the shield, and she can do a total of, best case is 8. So she can't actually break it outright, but she does damage the guy's shield. Uh, 5 plus 3. Shield is 6 plus. In case that comes into play. They attack. So again, first one on Raffin. It's on the 0 line with a minus or +3 total to its roll. 14. 14 on the 0 line is going to be a hit. So die 6 plus 2. 4 points bounces off his armor. And the other one on Marizan. So I'm going to be on the -1 line with a +5 to its roll. 30. On the -1 line, going to be a shield hit. Marizan gets a shield hit. And it has no hope in hell of doing 11 points damage to the shield to be able to damage it. So, and last but not least, the second swing from Kina with a -20. 45, and she was on the +2 line. That's going to be a shield hit. I guess she's taken, sorry, add +3. What was that? -17. Yeah, it's still a shield hit. I'm not actually going to worry about that. These things will be dead before their shields break, unless somebody does enough damage to just break the shield outright. Yeah, so that ends phase 2. Phase 3. Raffin, let's see if you can actually do something this time, buddy. So you are -6, -8, -13, +3, so -10 to your roll instead of -13 to your roll. 19 on the +4 line. 19 is going to be just a regular hit. And on a regular hit with this axe, he is doing a d6 plus 6. 10 points, so 8 get through. He's attacking number 1, minus 8. Raffen with the axe. Okay. Gildor. You are attacking from the flank, so the shield doesn't come into play for you. Oh, that's right. The shield shouldn't apply to Kina. It was from behind. Well, anyways, doesn't matter. Let's see. You are 6, 8, and 20, so minus 28 to your roll. Is that what I did last time? Oh no, you're flanking. Minus 15, 8, minus 23 to your roll. You are on the 0 line. And on the 0 line, that is going to be 25-ish. That's going to be a hit. So you do 5 points of damage. Oops, no. 7 points of damage. 5 gets through. And that's it for you. Marizan, you are on the +4 line. And you just don't want to hit this thing. You're letting everybody else get the experience. +4. I don't think she has minus 20 to her roll, so she's going to miss. Ina, with her first swing, is with a minus 22. That's going to be a 50, which is going to be a shield hit. Oh, and of course, she's been attacking from behind, and again, the shield doesn't apply from behind. So that should have been a hit. Well, a shield hit, which becomes a hit. So actually that's true. It doesn't make any difference with the shield hits that she's done, although she would have done damage with each one of those hits. So this undead is surviving far better than it should have. And she is going to do d6 plus 2 damage. 6 and 4 gets through. And the 2 of them attack. So the first zombie on Raffen, 48 is probably going to be a shield hit at best. And the one on Marizan, 29. Plus a bit. It's going to be a shield hit as well. He's already got one, so that's not going to make any difference. And Kina's last attack at minus 20. It's going to be a 17 on the +2 line. It's going to be hit, which becomes a severe. And she does a d10 plus 3 on a severe. 13, so 11 get through. And this thing does not have 11 hit points left. It has, let's see, 8, 12, 19. It actually has 4 hit points left. Kina with the sword. And with 13 points of damage, I'm pretty sure her weapon takes a point of damage as well. I don't have the fatigues marked down here, but I'm pretty sure that's like a 9 or 10. All right, that's one zombie down. And that's on to phase 3, I guess, or phase 4. Up of the round. We'll see if Raffen can actually do something this time. his trusty axe. Okay, 6, 8. Instead of, no, 6. 6 and 5, 11. 13 less 3, 10. Minus 10 to his roll, 32. On the +4 line. 32 is going to be a shield hit. And he has a d6 plus 6, so he's got a decent chance of breaking the shield. 8 points. Doesn't break the shield, does damage it. Not going to worry about that. And Gildor, you are... Oh, hang on. This one's dead. Raffin, you're attacking a dead zombie. We'll say he would have moved up here. Front arc is here. So that would have been a shield hit on this thing regardless. And Gildor, you are minus 15, minus 21, minus 23. That's going to be so that's going to be a miss. Ina's running up here as well. And she will move up to there to get a flank. So she's minus 15, minus 17. No shield effect there. Minus 17 to the roll. 0. That is going to be a deadly hit for Kina. Which, I guess, is kind of cool. 3d10 plus 2. And she is doing 23 points of damage. So she's finishing this thing off. It had 9 and 3, 12 points left. And she has a, let's see, 23. That is double her fatigue value on the sword. Probably, I'm guessing it's around an 8 fatigue at this point. So, well, if it's low enough, I'll figure out what the chance is. So 29, no. So it doesn't break, but it does take another point of damage. And our illustrious Kina seems to have finished off, come out quite the winner here in this battle. So they look over the corpses, the re-dead, and don't find anything of particular use on them. These lizard men were obviously animated by a necromancer of some sort, so it gives them a little bit of forewarning of what might be coming up in the temple. They will proceed towards in the general direction of the temple. Who got hit? Oh, that's right. Marizan. She took 5 points. You know what? She's not going to take a healing spell just yet. Actually, no, she will. She's going to take a healing spell. And I'm going to let Kina do the casting. So she has EL 0 in healing. So she's subtracting MDV times 2 from her roll, because Marizan wants this to actually work. And she's an MEL 3 caster. 75. That's definitely not going to work. Base 3, so she needs a 44. So that's the first attempt. 60, that's going to fail the second attempt. Third attempt, 12, less 12. So it's actually going to work on the third try. So base mana cost 1. It's costing 1 each time she casts it. She's going to use her own mana for this. And she will heal Marizan a D6 plus Marizan's stamina bonus. So Marizan is going to be back up to full. Her stamina bonus is +2. That's a total of 5, which is exactly the damage she had. And I'll just make a note that Marizan had an AL0 healing in case we need to do more healings on her. Okay. Now, as I said, they carry on their merry way to look for this temple of Nebeth. This is one of the drawings out of the original module, and I'm assuming there's steps leading up into into this temple area within this rock formation. And we are going to leave it here for the day and pick up in the next episode with the exploration of this temple. Thanks for joining me. Hopefully this was the ongoing story is at least of some interest. And if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please drop them in the comments down below. And we will see you next time. Thanks for joining me again.